Hello squeakers, welcome to my YouTube channel and I don't know what we're gonna do. I'll be honest, I'm just playing ad nauseam. I'm really bored. I've been trying to sleep for like 5 fucking hours and I haven't been able to sleep. I only got 3 hours of sleep and I'm bored. I don't know what to do, but I really want to talk about adna. So I think what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna look at some of the USBs. Maybe I'll read them, maybe I'll summarize them. But yeah, we're just gonna hang out. You can put this on your second monitor, or you can put it on the big screen and watch it intently every second at slow motion, whatever you want. If you don't know what adna is, it's called ad nauseam. Play it right now before you watch this video. Yeah, just play it. On itch.io. So yeah, look at us. We're at the terminal, this beautiful, beautiful place. We got some USBs here. We don't have all of them in D0. We're missing a couple, but that's okay. So I guess we would have to start with the first USB, Atheline's overview of size specs. This USB is like incredibly long. It's kind of a meme. Or when adna this 0 first came out, this was a meme because like it was just so long and we kind of memed on it basically. Anyway, do I want to talk about this USB? Look, there's one USB I really like that I do want to talk about the most, which is this one. So I'm going to start with my favorite, okay? I know you're supposed to eat your dessert after, but this USB is one of my favorites because it's just so fascinating and cool. Even if you don't, like even if you take it out of, you know, ad nauseam, like as a little story or written information, it's very compelling, at least to me. Sorry, I'm very brain fried right now. Bear with me. Alright, I'm gonna read this and cut in to explain some stuff. So, this is USB 5, on the nature of death and my departure. Even going so far as to state death as natural feels wrong. If you take apart a machine, at some point it fails to function. If you take away more necessary components, it might reach functionless faster. However, if you put it back together, it once again functions as intended. Okay, so this is basically, in ad nauseam, as you know probably, this is how humans work. They're not machines, but, you know, you can take their brain out and they'll be unconscious, they'll be scotched and dead or whatever. But you can put the brain back in and, you know, connect a couple things and add some blood, whatever, put a band-aid on it, and your person will come back, you know? Just like how in our world on Earth, you can get a prosthesis. Prosthesis. You know what I mean? Like a fake arm or a fake hand, you know, when you lose those limbs. Or, I don't know if this is true, but can't you get like fingers sewed back on if it's like partially cut off, right? Or you can grow back certain things, or your bones. Can't your bones fix themselves? Look, I'm not very smart right now, but you know what I mean, is certain things can be fixable. But in our world, some things are not fixable. You cannot grow an entire arm. We're not a starfish, right? If you lose your head, you're dead. But in ad nauseam, that is not the case. You can always be put back together if you have the money for it and the parts for it. So yeah. If you take apart a human, they too will stop working. Just like a machine, they have necessary and unnecessary parts. You can even take away a human's ability to communicate and perceive, but as long as their brain remains intact, they'll still be conscious. In fact, most people can still function fine with missing brain segments, too. Oops. I fucking kicked my desk. As long as you put a human back together, even with replacement parts, they will begin to function again. They do not experience death as animals do. Yeah, in adna, animals die, right? They can't be reconstructed, they die. You put back their limbs, you put back their brain, and whatever, they don't come back to life, quote unquote. It doesn't work like that for animals, only humans. And yeah, this is also real. There's that famous story of the guy who, like, you know, his frontal lobe got impaled or whatever, and he was still alive, and you can have parts of your brain be dead or not working, and you can still operate. There's parts of your bodies that are vestigial. They are not important, you know? It seems that the human sensorium and consciousness always remain attached to some semblance of the body. But which part is it? The brain? Is it still within the brain if it's in a million pieces? Which pieces contain it? If you were to put most pieces back together, along with stuff in gray matter, you'd have a working person again. So yeah, the sensorium is, to my knowledge, an adna unique term. But just by hearing it in the context, we can kind of understand what it is. The sensorium seems to be the consciousness. It is the thing that houses the consciousness, right? Like, the heart or the body contains the heart, and the heart contains the arteries and the atriums and the blood, and and the rib cage contains the heart. But like, what contains consciousness? Because you might think it's the brain. At least on Earth, we can assume it's the brain, right? Because you take brain damage, you become unconscious, right? Or head trauma, you become unconscious, or you can lose consciousness and stuff. It just feels like it's in the brain, but it's hard to tell exactly where it is. Like, where exactly does consciousness come from? Where does it lie? What part of the brain? If you cut it up into little pieces, like, which piece is the consciousness? It's kind of like this nebulous thing that kind of floats around humans, right? And that's especially true in ad nauseam when it will keep working when you cut it up in a million pieces, right? And then it's kind of like the ship of Theseus. If you start, putting in fake brain, which is stuff in gray matter, what's even real anymore? And yeah, gray matter is like the thing in your brain, like that your brain actually has gray matter. It's a part of the brain, and stuffing in ad nauseam, of course, is basically just prosthetics of organs, prosthetic organs. So yeah, and with all of that, I propose that the human sensorium exists outside of the body, interfacing with it just as we do with the web. Destroying the body does no harm to this sensorium, this consciousness, only to the sensorium's ability to interface with the world. Otherwise, the destruction of our bodies would simply mean the destruction of our very selves. Okay, so in ad nauseam, when you destroy an animal, when you injure an animal, and you kill an animal, they are dead. It's the destruction of their very self. But with humans, when you destroy a human, it is not the destruction of their very self, because they can be put back together and their consciousness is still there. It's somehow tethered to their body. And this is saying that much like the internet, and computers, like if you think about it, you can watch this video right now with the internet on your device, right? If you destroy that device, this video and the internet doesn't disappear. It's not dead. Even if you put it back together, the device, like the internet exists outside of your computer. It exists somewhere else, right? And that's what this person is saying about humans. That our consciousness is not in our body, it's somewhere else, okay? Somewhere else entirely. In our consciousness, or in our body, we have a receiver, essentially, the sensorium. Or no, not the sensorium, but in our body we have... Hold on. Let me reiterate this. Okay, so the sensorium is outside of the body. That is the consciousness. The sensorium is elsewhere, and it taps into our body. It interfaces with our body. So the sensorium is the internet, and we are the computer. You can destroy the computer, and the sensorium does not get hurt, right? And I think that's really cool. And it kind of makes me think in real life. It's almost a little spiritual, but it's still kind of medical and like scientific. It's just a really fascinating way to look at things, especially when you think about dreams and near-death experiences and what happens when you die. It's just like a really cool topic. Animals, on the other hand, die. Do they not have a sensorium? Do they not have a consciousness? The Church of Mary believes that's the case, but I think the sentiment is misguided. I simply believe the true mind, the true self, must exist within a place where destruction is not a valid concept. Animals must have a self. I simply believe once that self has been severed from its body, it leaves for good. It cannot identify its body like a human can. When replaced or even reconstructed with its own parts, is it merely too stupid? Is its design fundamentally different? Or is immortality in fact what is unnatural? So yeah, like I said, animals do not have this quirk that humans do in ad nauseam. Um, and this person is saying that they believe animals have a self, but if you destroy the animal, it also destroys the sensorium. It destroys the internet, right? So yeah, when you destroy an animal, its consciousness is gone for good, while with a human, it somehow stays linked. Um, and yeah, that the true self, the true mind, the true consciousness, the sensorium exists within a place where destruction is not a valid concept is a very fascinating sentence that I honestly never paid much attention to until now. That's something you'll see a lot with Adna when you look back at stuff is some things just stick out to you and you're like, how did I not pick up on this? Like this is very, like every line is so packed with information. A place where destruction is not a valid concept. So yeah, it's almost like destruction doesn't exist where our sensorium is, which is really cool and interesting to think about. While in sanatoria and the clinic, destruction does exist. You can destroy things, you know? Is immortality, in fact, what is unnatural? I have heard of humans without the ability to maintain consciousness after a certain point in which their bodies have been destroyed. But all such evidence lies within vital constructs, a place I long thought out of reach. However, my drive for knowledge is too strong and unyielding, I simply must find out. And so I leave this departing message and this reasoning with you. Leanna, I'm going into the unknown. Whether I'm welcomed or not, please keep this a secret. I do not wish to be followed. Providence protect you, Dr. Keedy. So, yeah, turns out this was actually someone writing. I mean, obviously someone wrote this, but it's Dr. Keedy. It feels a lot more personal now. They were sending this to probably someone who's really important to them, their lover, their family, whatever. And they are venturing out to vital constructs. Now, here comes the more Adna, specific stuff, the fictional stuff, is vital constructs. Where is vital constructs? It's on the map. It is, inaccessible. It's closed off. The borders are closed off. We don't know what's going on there. But apparently, within vital constructs, there are humans without the ability to maintain consciousness after a certain point when their bodies have been destroyed, which sounds like like us on Earth. I'm not saying that they're from Earth. I'm just saying there's a parallel here where it sounds like those people operate a bit closer than how we operate, allegedly. Another thing I've heard about these people in the first USB is that they're called human tumors, which sounds very not like us on Earth. So they probably are going to look very monstrous, and me saying that they're similar to us is going to come back to haunt me, but I'm not saying they're similar to us, just that their consciousness seems to work more similar to us. They're not immortal, they don't have psychosia, they can lose their consciousness, and that is very fascinating, and I want to know more about them. I want to know more about vital constructs. And a little fun fact, as we said, we learned that the Church of Mary believes that animals do not have a consciousness, that animals do not, feel, think, have personality and stuff. Which maybe this is really stupid of me to say. I just haven't looked it up or found the research, but it's something that's debated a lot in our world as well. Some animals are said to have consciousness potentially, and when you have a pet like a dog or a cat, it really feels like they do have a personality. They do whimper, they do this and they do that, and then but you're like, oh well, what if that's just learned behavior? They whimper because they get affection and they get food and they get safety from it. It's just chemicals and stuff. But if you go that far, isn't everything just chemicals? So what even is consciousness anymore? I really love this kind of topic, and it's so weird and nebulous and really hard to define. And I think this USB is just a really wonderful USB that is just super cool for the fictional setting. It transcends the fictional setting and being just a really cool, non-fiction thing to read and consider, a worldview, I guess. And I don't know, it just feels so detective-y, and I don't know, I'm just gushing about it. I love it. It's really cool. I can't wait to know what happens. I hope we know what happens with Dr. Keaty. If we ever go to Vital Constructs, which, come on, we have to go to Vital Constructs. It's been kind of hyped up under the surface as a place you can't go to. A place with a lot of secrets and a lot of answers, and we've got to go there, right? I want to know more about Dr. Keaty. I want more USBs like this. It's wonderful. Definitely my favorite USB in the whole game currently. So yeah, that is USB 5. Another thing I kind of want to bring up, this is USB 7, I believe. Why am I believing? I could just check. It is USB 9. I was wrong. The tarot card reading. It was, thought up and also confirmed by Liza May, lovely developer, creator, that the tarot cards seem to have some kind of correlation or parallel with the current disc that is taking place. So this tarot card will kind of tell us, I believe, about what this zero is about, and it's kind of a cool detail. And maybe it can even tell us about the future. And yeah, all the tarot cards also are real, and you can do tarot cards readings. They have front sides and inverted sides, and it's really cool. Those born in latter Abyss under the sign of the squid have pulled the Accident, Providence, and the Mary Query cards. Today is a day for you to explore and take risk, but be wary, for ignorance will lead you into a long-standing issue that has haunted you in the shadows, now assuming a dangerous form. In order to overcome this obstacle, you ponder on your past and the history of this problem. Only by cutting this evil out at the root will you be able to clarify your mental haze and gain an understanding that vindicates this evil. It may not be the malicious threat you believed it to be. Okay, so half of this sounds very Disc Zero. And a day to explore and take risk, right? You do that in Disc Zero. There's a lot of exploration. You're taking risk. You can go to places you're not supposed to. And it says that be wary, ignorance will lead you into a long-standing issue that has haunted you in the shadows, which makes me think of, pushing Serene to her mental limit where she kind of breaks down. You can do that, and you can push her into bad areas. So yeah, when you go to St. Luca's, or you try to go to St. Luca's, Serene shuts down and she kind of blacks out for a little bit. That seems like what this is talking about. Being ignorant of Serene's feelings will cause her to lead into a long-standing issue that has haunted her. This kind of this could either be specifically about St. Luca's, but I don't think it is, because I could be wrong, but St. Luca's definitely feels important, but not as important as other areas that we go to. I think what this is mentioning is just Serene's trauma in general, and her blacking out, and her memory issues, and her past. It's mostly her past coming back to haunt her and give her these reactions, right? These breakdowns. So now this kind of past has assumed a dangerous form. Now this dangerous form that's talked about for the rest of this paragraph, that I'm a little confused on. And this is where my theory brain comes, is that this is not just about Disc Zero. This is the first tarot card, and we know the tarot cards kind of explained some things, or potentially even foreshadow things. I think this one is kind of setting up the rest of the game, basically. I think this dangerous form is Sindine, which we meet in Disc 1, the next disc from this one. And I think this is basically saying that Sindine is some kind of manifestation of our traumas and the issues that have haunted us in the shadows, our past. I think she's deeply connected to her past. It seems like it from the endings in D1. It seems like Sindine has some kind of connection with us. And I'm not saying that Sindine is like not a real person. I think she is a real person, but she is going to open up these same wounds that have been trying to close in Serene's heart, So yeah, the past, pondering on the past and the history of this problem. It also says, only by cutting this evil at the root will you be able to clarify your mental haze. That sounds almost like, that just lines up so right with this whole Sindine thing. Only by cutting Sindine out at the root will you be able to clarify your trauma, right? Like that seems like something kind of Cindy was saying is, you know, let's team up because, hey, maybe I'll toughen you up a bit because right now you can't handle the stress of being a sci-spec. And cutting Cindy out at the root seems like the only way we can stop her, if that's even possible, right? So yeah, and I think that's really interesting to think about. And yeah, maybe we'll check out the Disc 1 tarot card and see what that one is about. Alrighty, so actually, I didn't know this, but in Disc 1 there is no USB about the Spiral Staircase, which is the tarot card you get, but we do have a description here. Something incredibly unsettling about this card. Makes me feel uncomfortable, like standing too close to a ledge. Is it cursed or something? Spiral Staircase. Certain people may know the meaning of this card. You can actually look at it. Spiral Staircase, it goes and it goes and it goes. Since it is a spiral, right, it makes you think of a descent, you know, a descent into madness, a descent into bad things, a downward spiral. The stairs too, you know, reminiscent of what happened to Jika in this disc, getting thrown down, like 40 flights of escalator. And yeah, this card feeling cursed or something, like standing too close to a ledge makes sense, right? Because it's, you know, like falling. And, you know, there's the Disc 1 album art, which is Jika falling, you know? And also, what happens in this disc? Shit kind of goes down. It's a downward spiral. So I think that's, we can pretty safely assume is what the Spiral Staircase is about. I also want to just talk about some of these descriptions for items, because it's been a while since I've looked at them, and they give us some pretty subtle information. They're easy to look over and gloss over because they seem inconsequential, right, being an item description, but some of these details seem very subtle but can be very important. I'm hoping, or I'm assuming, I mean. Also, there's a lot of fun, serene personality that leaks out, and I just think it's really sweet and cute. Specifically, though, with Chlorodyne, which is what Piamat wants us to buy for her, we get at Sully's shop. We kind of see that it's a pretty expensive thing. You know, we couldn't even afford it. We have to go to GA to get it. It's pretty high quality. So Chlorodyne is a stabilizing ingredient for irregular depressants that cost an arm and a leg. This is far-filtered Chlorodyne, though, so it may have literally costed Maddie an arm and a leg, which is cute. So a stabilizing ingredient for irregular depressants. So that means Piamat, who is a pharmacist, is working with irregular depressants. And to make these more stable, she needs to use 4 filtered Chlorodyne, which just seems very intense and very expensive, right? So whatever this depressant is, must be pretty strong. And we know Maddie has a stabilizer that she gives us that is like, it works when stabilizers shouldn't. It's a custom-made stabilizer that is basically an improvement of stabilizers the public has. We also know she has USBs sent to her about this research about stabilizers that she's been doing. Let me pull it up real quick for you. It's in Disc 0. I might not have it. But basically it's talking about it's talking about how Piamat is a really good pharmacist and she's looking into alternative stabilizers, which we get to see in D1. She uses an alternative stabilizer. And yeah, this is pretty massive because stabilizers are very important to everyone in Sanatoria. And we also have a USB saying that stabilizers seem to have some pretty bad side effects causing depression and stuff with everyone. And Maddie might have some kind of alternative that doesn't cause that and can be used to save people who are too far gone, right? Like what happens with Serene. So yeah, that's really interesting. So we know a little bit, supposedly, unless this is for something else, but this might be a piece of that recipe. It includes a depressant, an irregular depressant, so strong that it needs 4 filtered Chlorodyne to become stable. This is just a really cute thing. This is the lockpicking tools, and Serene says, undeniably useful for a rascal like myself. Which I think is just really cute that in her own brain and stuff in her own journal. She's calling herself like, "Oh, I'm such a rascal." It's just really charming and endearing. I love Serene. Okay, so I think I'm gonna end the video here. This was a short one, maybe, unless it isn't, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about Adna, because I can't sleep and I'm thinking about it at all times. If anyone has anything Adna related you want me to talk about, please let me know. Thinking about making a lot more Adna videos, and if you have any questions or theories or opinions that you want to hear about, just ask me in the comments and I will bring them up next time. And maybe this could be kind of like a weekly thing, or, well, I won't put a time limit on it, but it can be a thing that happens every so often, and I'll kind of respond and we can just talk about Adna, because if you made it this far, you probably really like it just like I do, and it's fun to talk about. So yeah, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.